One more thing to learn in ArcGIS Pro, and that will really round out the main set of tools we'll all cover together. There are literally thousands of other things you can do with this software, and it may be that as you're thinking through your project that you want to do in the second half of this semester, some of those other tools might come in handy. That is something that you and I can figure out based on sort of brainstorming your project idea together, either the two of us or with the class as a whole. I might think of a couple other things that the map can do that might be really helpful for you. And in which case you and I can walk through those things, or a group of us can walk through those things. But once I show you this last step, sort of how to format your map in a way that gets it ready to export as a picture or a PDF, or the kind of file that you can then insert into a report, we will have walked through all of the tools that we're going to walk through together as a class. It's not too many. I know they've been a huge headache over the last few weeks, but with those few things that we've covered, you can do an incredible amount of things. You've figured out how to add just about anything into a map. A list of addresses, we can geocode them and make them dots on a map. We can add shapefiles that come from somewhere else. We can add data that comes from just about anywhere, so long as it has the right ID to link into the shapes that are part of a shapefile that you've gotten from, whether it's the Tiger Line file site, or that you're able to pull from some other place, again, as you get into your project. So we brought all sorts of different things into the map. We've used the symbology tool to see these things and change their colors and graduate those colors based on the value of a particular indicator. We've also used the selection tool to select just a subset of the shapes that we care about. So we might have started with a whole county and then we zoomed in on only those census tracts within a particular place. Or some of you started with a whole city and then zoomed into just a couple census tracts within a given zip code or something like that. That selection tool is incredibly powerful. That selection tool can not only work by location, but you can also do it based on an attribute about the data. So select map only those census tracts that have poverty rates over 20%. Is something that your map can do for you. So joining, adding data, using that selection tool and all the different ways we can use it, just those alone can just do an incredible amount of stuff for you. The symbology tool also lets you shade these things in a bunch of different ways, make them appear in a bunch of different colors, or you can do graduated symbols. So some you can have dots instead, and some dots go from small to big or all different colors. Just with those few tools, you can do a ton of things. So now we want to figure out how you get this beautiful map that's on your computer, locked inside of a program, out as a JPEG or a PDF that you can then cut and paste into your report or share with somebody else who doesn't have the mapping software. And so that's just the only thing that's part of this next ArcGIS 2 assignment. And so I'll show you how to do that. It's also in the LinkedIn Learning instructions. They walk you through this. Some of the other videos do too, but I figured just in case I would do my own video for you guys. So here we have, once again, you never want to see these again, but here you go for one last time. It's Rochester, my Rochester project. You're looking at all Monroe County census tracts because here's Rochester in the middle. But here's my map that I want to convert into a JPEG to send to somebody. So the way to do this is to come over here to insert. And the thing we're going to want to insert this time is a new layout. And here's your chance. You look at the shape that is your county or the shape that is your city, and you can decide if it's going to be portrait style, so it's tall, if it's going to be landscape style, so it's flat, if it's going to be a square, if it is in some kind of shape, you can pick that if you want to. I just did a landscape oriented letter size picture. So this is what pops up. So back here is my map, and here's my first layout. Right now it's just a blank white piece of paper. I have to tell it what I want to put in this layout. and you come up here to map frame. And I could do anything, or I could do what I've done. Look at, if you look at this image, this is zoomed in on Monroe County, looks just like how I've currently zoomed in on Monroe County. So here I am, I'm going to go back to map frame. That's just what I want. And I'm going to, if you see my little cursor right here, if I click down and then drag that to whatever size I want, and that is now what I've got for my map. All I did was map frame. I picked my map. I brought my cursor onto the page, clicked, held down, and just drew that big rectangle, and there it is. And so now I've got an image of my map that I can then share with people who don't even have the, who may not even have the mapping software, but I can turn it into a JPEG if I want to. The other thing that's always helpful to do, I might know what I'm looking at here, what is red and what is orange and what is yellow. It's coming from over here, right? That's my median value. But anyone who gets this document sent to them is going to have no idea what they're looking at. So the other thing you want to add is a legend. There are a bunch of things. I could add a north arrow. I could add a scale bar. A bunch of things could be added. One thing for sure we're going to want to add here is a legend. I'm going to look to see where there's room for it. Again, similar thing, you see my cursor is that little plus, click down and draw a shape that's going to turn into my legend. There it is. It's usually smart enough to know that anything that's currently clicked on, these are things that are clicked on here. You see my city of Rochester shows up right here, and my tracks, since they're clicked on, they automatically pop into my legend. So very easy to do. We might understand all of these codes, but that's really not the thing you want to show up in your report. I can come back over to, this is in my contents pane. If you just sort of click slowly on that, what these really are is Monroe County census tracts. And you'll see that as I update it over here, it automatically updates in my legend. This is my code word for median value. Likely means nothing to anybody else. Same thing, I can do median value. If I double click on my legend, a format legend pane pops up over here. And this gives you the opportunity to walk through any of the elements that are in here formatting wise. I'm not going to be able to change the way this stuff looks. I'm going to have to go back to symbology if I don't want it to be red and orange. Instead, I want it to be blue and green. But this is the pane for formatting anything that's going on in this legend. So just some things that you can do. You know, if you click through all of these different tabs, show you all sorts of different things. This third one here gives you a chance to make a border for it, for example. Right now there's no border, but say I want to have it be a black square. One thing I like to do too is not have that square right up against my letters. I like to have a little bit of a margin between my text and my border. So you can make that right here. I'm just doing a little, sorry, 0.1 inch. And all that did is it gave it a little bit of a gap, for example. Now it's kind of hard to see too because of this background map that I've got. So just like I could make a border around the outside, I can also make the background white. And same kind of thing. Well, let's make sure we have some room so that my white goes all the way out to those boundaries. And so now you can see, I'm going to click off of it just so you can see it a little better. Here's just another way to make my my legend a little bit easier to read. If you want to change anything about the text, say you want to use a different font, you can go into any formatting, change the font right here to anything you like, and then it's good. In this pane, if ever you see an apply and cancel button at the bottom, make sure you hit apply, and that's when the change will appear. But so here you have it. Here you have it. These labels show up for me as dollar signs. If you see here, the chance to do that is in symbology. And so if people have questions about that, that doesn't happen as part of your legend. Your legend is just literally showing what has already appeared over here. So like I said, if these colors to be whatever colors they want to be, these numbers to show up in whatever, to break at whatever point you want them to break, and also be formatted in whatever way you want to format them. Anything showing up over here has to be handled in symbology. Legend is just going to figure out what it looks like as you put it on the page. I'm going to click save just so we know that we have this for all time. And then the way that you get it out of your map and into a PDF is through share. And so share, you can either print it directly, so you never actually create a file from it, you just print it, or you can export it. And that's the thing you want to do. This pops up here. You have a whole bunch of file types. Maybe you want a JPEG, maybe you want a PDF. This is how you can decide where you're going to put it and what you're going to call it. Monroe County median value. Do that. You can pick your resolution. Nothing will happen. You will have set all those things up, but nothing will happen until you hit export. And it will spend a little bit of time creating a JPEG or a PDF or whatever kind of file you've chosen to use out of this image. And now the export is complete. One really nice thing is that you can add as many layouts as you want. You can add as many layouts as you want. And that's very helpful because already for this assignment, you have 3 maps that are at the county scale, or for some of you that are out at a big city scale. And then you have 3 maps that are zoomed in to your, again, if you started at a county, you're going to zoom into a city, or if you started at a city, you're going to zoom into a zip code. And so you have 2 scales, and it just is really nice in a final report if maps that are showing, if I'm going to show 6 different maps, for example, of Monroe County census tracts, it's really nice for my reader to always see those, maps at the same scale, legends in the same place, to have those look very similar to one another. The data in them is going to change, but otherwise the formatting stays the same. What you can do is, you've got this layout right now. Now, for example, if I click off of one Monroe County tract over here and pop in another, all it did, the only things that changed, the zoom, the scale of this stayed the same, where the legend is stayed the same, the format of the legend stayed the same. The only thing that changed was my content. And so this makes it really easy to click through those three county scale or city scale maps. And again, just go through this process again, save it where you want to save it and name it what you want to name it, and export. So this sort of locks this in place. All right, so no matter where I click this, if I go back to my map, one other thing you need to do is think through, all right, well, I need to have some layouts ready to go for my city. Here's my city. And for these, you see where this goes. So here's now my city on here. And this looks a little bit weird. If I'm just going to do Rochester, I'd really rather zoom in. So what I would suggest you do is insert a new layout that is going to be frozen at the right level to zoom for the city. So for example, here's my city of Rochester. For maps, for images of this city of Rochester, I really want to be like in here. I want to be zoomed in. One nice thing, this did not change. This layout is waiting for county census tracts, which is perfect. One of the things I can do is go back here, insert, and insert a new layout. Same steps to follow. My layout, I want to insert, I need my new map frame, right? And now this frame is going to look like my new map. Here's this one. Say, you know, it didn't get it exactly right. I think I can zoom in a little bit more. If you look, here's just sort of all the various things you can do with your map frame. If you want to change the border, if you want to change how this entire box is aligned, you can play around with all of these, different menu bars will show you what you can do while you're looking at this layout. If you're clicking on the layout tab, one of the things you can do here is activate. This is the only way, only when you truly mean to, can you change where this thing is. Now I'm in my layout, I've activated, and so I'm moving around where I am. If I want to zoom in some more, I can zoom in some more. If I want to zoom out a little bit, I'm going to zoom out a little bit, move this one last time. Yes, this is exactly where I want my layout to be for Rochester, for when I'm showing my city of Rochester maps. And so then I'm going to come back here to the activate map frame layout. I'm going to close activation. And as soon as I do that, then this will freeze. And this layout will forever be at this scale. If that makes any sense. This has stayed the same. This is frozen at this scale. I switched this around and adjusted this. Now it's, since I activated it, then I closed the activation. And so now this is frozen at this scale. Same sort of thing. Now I can go here. I can insert a legend. Maybe this legend I'll put up over here because I got some room up here. Again, it automatically can fit these in. You'll notice that City of Rochester here is below my census tracts. That's because this is the order that they're in over here. I can move it up here if I want to. And then on my map that shows that it's above. Under legend here, all the things that could show up at any time in my legend. Here are my City of Rochester census tracts and my City of Rochester boundary. Same thing, I can pull this up. And now I've reordered them in my legend, if you see where that is. Here's my legend, all the things that could potentially show up in my legend. I may say, you know what, I don't want it to say City of Rochester, that's just too obvious. City of Rochester census tracts is fine. If I click off of that checkbox, I haven't deleted it from my map. It's still there. If I change my mind, all I have to do is click it back on. But that's a way that I might say, you know what, that's redundant. People are going to know that that boundary is the outside of the City of Rochester. I just want to show this. Same thing over here. If I double click on my legend, this pops back up again. I can do the same thing. Let's make another border. And again, let's give myself a little bit of space. Let's make it white because otherwise it's too hard to read. Let's change the font. Hit apply. And whoops, it says med value, which means things to me, but is not going to mean anything to anybody else. I can come back over here, type in whatever I want to call this. And as soon as I update it over here, it updates over here. Hit save. And so now I have this layout for my city scale, and I can click through my 3 maps that have city level census tract data. And I have my county scale, and so I can click through my county maps and export those. And I have saved these. If you up here in content, you can see what these list by map frame up to the top here. Here's my map. So that's, I might have lots of different maps in the same file, in the same package. Here's my layouts. Layout. If I wanted to change the name of this one, county scale maybe, and then I'll remember better. Call this my city scale. Again, no one else is going to know that but me, but that makes it easier for me to remember what all these different things are. Then I can, back in my map, I can click on and off different things. We can switch over to turn this off, turn this on. Let's just clear those. So it's not selected anymore. County scale, still far away. This isn't the right layout for this particular map, but this one is. It again froze that scale. And so now I'm ready. Maybe I want to update some of these names so they're going to be clearer for my reader, but otherwise I'm ready to share and export my layout. And so these are things that you can just repeat. You might have still another scale. Maybe you also have a couple zip codes. Maybe you put together maps for the whole state. Keep adding as many layouts as you want. Doesn't hurt to have many layouts. They're beneficial because then if you never have to go back to recreate the right scale for county level data, for example. I could have, within this frame, turned on that activation tool, zoomed in, and then been perfect for my city. But then if I decided, wait a minute, hold on, I want to export another county level map, I would have to go get back to the right scale for that one. So this is just a really helpful way to have, for whenever you need it, these layouts sort of in the bag, and just whenever the data is ready to display, you've got your layouts ready to go for those different scales. Hopefully that was helpful. If people have any questions about this, please do not hesitate to reach out.